I'm delighted to say that I'm standing next to the second best bowler in the world, which doesn't sound quite as good as standing next to the best bowler in the world, but Swanee, doesn't sound too bad, does it?
No, I'll take that. I'm pretty happy to be where I am. It's been I'd say a fairly fortunate 12 months. I'm a great believer in good luck, and luck seems to be going my way, so I'm rolling in it at the minute.
10 years ago, if we'd have said that an orthodox off-spinner, perhaps with no great mystery, would have been number 2 in the world rankings, people would have laughed at us. What's happened?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Cricket's one of these great games that goes around in big circles. 10 years ago, everyone wanted a leg spinner because of Graeme Swann, obviously. And more recently, I think the standard leg spinner is just not quite there in the game at the minute, like it was 10 years ago, obviously. And there's a lot of left-handers at the minute, so the off-spinners are coming more into their own, and it's just a happy coincidence that I'm around at the moment.
Well, one of the key things for me in your success in recent times has been the ability to beat both sides of the bat, the inside and the outside edge. I just wondered whether, young off-spinners watching, whether you could go through the mechanics of the difference between your orthodox off-spinner and what you might call the slider, the one that goes on with the arm.
It's very simple, really. For me, I grip the ball exactly the same. I'm different. Normal off-spinners grip it on these 2 knuckles here, but as you can see from my finger, I grip it like so. I don't know why I do that. I've always done it. It tends to give me more spin on the ball than a lot of spinners. And so when I bowl, basically the off-spinner, all I'll do is roll the ball over the top of that knuckle, and that gets you drift in the turn. And for the arm ball, I just bowl it sideways, basically. Rather than bowl over the top, I try and underspin it.
So wrist position is crucial. You're kind of almost undercutting the ball. And for an off-spinner looking to position the seam right, for an off-spinner, you'd want to be positioning the seam down to fine leg.
Yeah.
And for the drifter, it would be what? Spinning on its
basically,
axis?
Yeah. And the beauty of it, if you hold the ball exactly the same, you won't always get your wrist exactly right. So sometimes the ball goes down, sort of wobbling in the air. Sometimes it will hit the seam, sometimes it will hit the shiny side. So sometimes it skids on, sometimes it turns.
We've got a ball here that's not exactly shiny and rough, but there is a rough side. Does it matter to you which side you hold it?
I always hold the rough side into my palm. A lot of spinners hold the shiny side into their palm because they believe it gives them more drift. I actually believe the other way for some reason. I find I get a lot more control, a lot more drift if the shiny side's facing away. I have to keep my hand very dry, obviously, because of that, because the seamers don't want any moisture getting on this dry side. So that's why you'll see me rubbing my hand in the dirt all the time. That's why my whites are always an absolute mess.
Legal way of keeping the ball dry. I don't know whether we can have a close-up look at your finger here. I mean, you've got this big scab on an area that's unusual for an off-spinner. Normally it would be on the inside of your index finger, but Tim May used to have a big gash on there as well. What do you do to kind of help you preserve your fingers and not rip them up as the ball as it goes over the seam?
Well, unfortunately, the only thing that really works for the finger is time. When I was younger, I used to bowl. I used to get a lot of gaping wounds. I've still got a small scab there where it's been bleeding recently, but it's just bowling and bowling and bowling. Your finger gets used to it, and like a walker or a runner gets very hard feet. Spin bowlers get very hard fingers after a while, so mid-season, mid-tour, the hand's in very good condition and I can bowl. At the start of a tour, you just hope and pray. It helps in the nets if you to bowl. You obviously can't do that in a match. You have to just avoid getting moisture on your finger at all costs, because as soon as you do, that's when the skin splits.
And what about the difference between a kookaburra and a duke? I mean, the duke would be a prouder seam and therefore more pain?
Yeah, the duke's ball, especially when it's cold in England early season, is horrendous to bowl with, because your hands are cold, the ball's, it seems harder, it's a very dense ball, very small, and like you say, the seam sticks off, it's very proud, and it only takes one bit of moisture to get on your finger, you bowl a ball and it'll completely off. So that's why I love the kookaburra ball.
What about the impact of Hawkeye? Hawkeye's been in the game now, what, for a decade or so. We've seen the number of LBWs going up that the umpires are prepared to give compared to, say, 15, 20 years ago. That's clearly had a beneficial impact for finger spinners like yourself.
It has, especially for left-hand batsmen, because when I first started playing cricket, the amount of times I'd hit people on the pads and I'd go up mad appealing. and the wicketkeeper would just turn around and say, "You'll never get that given." My argument was always, if that's a seam bowler bowling, that's stone to rights, that's out. And so I think it's great that the Hawkeyes come along and prove that the ball is actually hitting the stumps a lot of the time. Hopefully the review system will catch up with it, and then ones that are given out that then get overturned and proved to actually be out will stand for me.
Now, the last English spinner to get to #1 in the world rankings was Derek Underwood, I think in 1975. The last English off-spinner, Jim Laker, in 56. Can you get there?
I hope so. You know, I feel as if I'm in a very heady place at the minute at #2, but I'm more than happy to be there. I've done nothing different over the last 12 months with my bowling. I've learned to be consistent over the years. If I can keep doing that and keep getting the rewards, then hopefully Dale Steyn can, well, not get injured, but maybe just have 3 months off, a sabbatical or something. I can catch him up.
Well done.
Thanks.